What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Red Dragon Archfiend. Now as you can see, I've already made a change to the extra deck. We are utilising Red Nova Dragon and Tyrant Dragon as these were requests from you directly. So I thought I'd put an updated version of the OTK build together for you, so you can kind of see how you can utilise the cards like Nova Dragon to clear an entire board or just make it a fat stack boss monster. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. We're going to dive headfirst into the profile and show you exactly what we've got. Now for the Resonators, I'm pretty much going to blitz over these because they are pretty much the standard ratio of triple soul, triple crimson, double vision and a single synchron resonator. Now the only things that I always change back and forth from is sometimes I'll go 2 crimson, sometimes I'll go 2 synchron. This is kind of like the average ratio for me that works out very, very well. Now the reason this works out is you've got the ability for Vision Resonator to be a free extender as long as you control a level 5 or higher dark. And then of course you've got Synchron Resonator that can also become a free extender if a synchro monster is on the field. So the best thing about that is it doesn't have a specific level, so that when you're looking at something like, if I can find it straight away to the side, your Creation Resonator, this one needs you to have a level 8 or higher synchro to special summon it. So to me, apart from the fact that this is 2 levels higher, the Synchron Resonator is definitely the better option. I did look into Creation Resonator for the pure fact of trying to utilize Red Nova Dragon a lot more because it does require you to have 2 tuners. But in this build, it's not actually that difficult to get the 2 tuners you need on the board that is going to help you kind of synchro climb up into Red Nova Dragon as well. So that's it for all the Crimson monsters. Moving on to the Fiends. So for the Fiends, again, pretty standard this one, so I'm not going to spend too long on it. Triple Bone, 1 Wild Wind, 1 Overloop, and then of course 1 Salamander. I still really like Salamander just because of that ability that it can become a tuner or a non-tuner. Now I don't mean him himself, but what it gives you the ability for is you can reveal him and another Fiend monster, which can be any of your tuners here, plus technically Overloop as well as a tuner. And then if you're like, right, I need a tuner to the board, Catalyzer goes to the graveyard, the tuner gets summoned out. Or if you're like, I need a non-tuner to the board, you do it the other way around. Really, really kind of cool card. Wild Wind is just a free extender if you control a Resonator, technically. And then Overloop is one of the best targets to send off a Bone Archfiend if you've already got a way to get Crimson to the graveyard. So that's it for the Fiend monsters. Moving on to the Resonator and the Red Dragon Archfiend spells and traps, and then I'll go through the alternative engines or the other engines for the deck. Again, I'm not going to spend forever on the ones that are pretty standard, which is of course your Crimson Gaia and your Resonator Call. In this version, I'm also playing 2 Burning Soul. Now what I like about this is it can be used offensively or defensively. Defensively, your ideal target is to go into your King Calamity for a turn skip. Aggressively, you've got the ability to go into a Red Nova Dragon, Red Supernova, but then you've also got the ability to get into Bestial Dispatters. The best thing about Burning Soul is if you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster, which is incredibly easy to do in this deck, you get to add any card from your graveyard except itself. So that's going to give you the ability to bring back any of your spells, your traps, or your monsters, which is invaluable. You then get the ability, once it's resolved, to synchro summon using monsters you control as material, and it also provides you with targeted protection for your synchro monsters on the field with card effects from your opponent. So really kind of cool card, came in the structure deck. The only thing that's disappointing about it is it is not searchable by any means, because it's not even a normal trap card. Normal spell card. But I still really, really like it. I think it does give you a nice little balance of first and second, so it does work out really well. Then of course we've got the 1 Absolute Power Force. The idea is to be aggressive, to go as an OTK. And that's where Burning Soul can come into play, is if your opponent is trying to disrupt your board, and let's say they're trying to book a Moon a tuner, they're trying to bounce a tuner, they're trying to get rid of it in one way or another, you can Burning Soul resolve to then upgrade your board anyway without you trying to have to get into an open game state to synchro summon legally. And then of course you've got the Red Zone. This is just for the fallback. Now this can very easily be red screen if you like that as a better defensive option. But what I like about Red Zone is it gives you the ability to recycle a monster, making Burning Soul more live than the red screen. Yes, the red screen stops you getting attacked that turn, but technically it doesn't allow you to push your plays further forward with something like Burning Soul. So that's it for all of the cards that I would say come in the structure there, but Salamander didn't. But these are pretty much all of the main Red Dragon Archfiend cards. Everything else I'm about to show you are supporting engines. So for the sporting engines, if you don't have these can become any hand traps you want, but I still really like the Bestial engine because it acts as extensions, it acts as hand traps, it acts as interaction, and it also acts as extension. So this is the base minimum of the engine. You can play free Lubellion if you want to. I personally feel that this engine works out quite nicely for me with the ratios that I've got. Again, the reason for Beast is it's a very nice aggressive option. Yes, you could set the Regained. Regained would give you that ability that if your opponent summons or you banish, you can draw or summon back. Whereas by getting to Beast, you have no issue for basically going Beast, summon Druid Swarm, Beast, pop Druid Swarm, get a Send and a pop. And that's before you've even committed normal summons, depending on the route that you're going to go with. Like at the end of the day, for example, let's say you open up any other Bestial, right, and a Druid Swarm, or like Lubellion. You could then activate Lubellion, search out a Druid Swarm, banish a Lighted Dart from your opponent's graveyard, summon down Saronir, heck, even summon down the Druid Swarm. But the idea is that what you're trying to do is, like, let's say you go with your Baldrake. You send the Baldrake to summon back the Lubellion. Lubellion sets the Beast. You then get to use Druid Swarm, banish the Lubellion. Sorry, not banish the Lubellion. Banish the Baldrake or the Bestial, whatever one you've put in the graveyard. Then your board is currently Lubellion plus Druid Swarm. You activate Beast, you send the Druid Swarm, you then get to send one card your opponent controls and pop one card. So you're getting a 2-for-1 on that deal there. You've got a 2,500 of Lubellion going through, and you still have, technically as you're going second, a remaining 4 cards to help you break your opponent's board and push for an OTK. Considering off of one card in the form of Soul Resonator, that can pretty much set off your entire play for your Red Dragon Archfiend. And all you need to do is climb up high enough to get a remaining 5,500 damage on the board, and Lubellion will finish that off for you anyway. The other supporting engine that I'm choosing, like I said, these could be hand traps, it could be more board breakers, entirely up to you, is I've gone with the Small World engine. And the reason I went with the Small World engine is we are playing the one Raiden and the one Santa Claus. Now the reason I went with this one is because not only can Small World become an extender, trying to get to a Bestial, it can give you more access to your Lubellions, to your Druid Swarms, your Baldrakes, you name it, but it also becomes an extender in the form of being able to get to any of your level 4 Fiends. It can also become a starter, being able to get into stuff like Soul Resonator, and it can also become incredibly powerful board breakers by getting to a Kaiju in the form of Raiden or getting to Santa Claus. Now the reason Santa Claus is in here is it's a level 6, it's a light, and it's a fiend. So 99% of its attributes, the only thing it matches is the fact that it's a fiend. So you can pretty much use any of your monsters in your entire main deck, resonators or extenders, to get to it. Raiden's a little bit more difficult because it's a fiend, which is great, but it's also a dark, which means that it's limited by the different amounts of monsters you can actually use. So straight away, when I move all these out of the way, your ability to get to it directly through Fiends gets cut down massively. Like, these are all the cards it loses because these are all Fiends and they're all darks. So they can't be used to bridge to Raiden. So that's a very, very important kind of thing to keep in mind. But you can obviously bridge a Bestial to it because they're just dragons and darks and they're level 6s. So again, that's how you can get a Bestial into a Santa Claus, because it's like, okay, cool. Well, light, dark, great. Dragon, Fiend and Dragon, great. The only thing they match is the fact that they're level 6. You will need to be careful with their defense stats, but 9 out of 10, all of the Bestials are way above and way different to his attack stats. So you're in a good position on that one as well. And then, like I said, all of the rest of the cards can very easily search your Santa Claus, which is your best option to go for as a generic board breaker. But you don't want to really leave this on the board because your opponent will get a nice draw. The final cards that we are playing in the main deck is Book of Eclipse and one Foolish Burial. Now, the Foolish Burial is in here because it can Foolish Burial Lubellion, so it's extra access to that. It can also Foolish Burial Soul Resonator if you're worried about your cards being destroyed. Vision Resonator for a spell or trap search as well. As an Overloop, Salamander, or a Crimson Resonator if your Bone Archfiend gets stopped. The reason for Book of Eclipse is I think it's probably the best board breaking card for this deck, because if your opponent does not stop this and you do Book of Eclipse your opponent's entire board, all you need to do is get a Red Dragon Archfiend on the board, and straight away that's going to clear that entire board off nice and easily. And then all you need to do is fill in the remaining 8k, which is very easily done with, of course, your Soul Resonator combo, with a couple more Bestial extenders if you need to, and all you've done is use one card to break your opponent's board. Now, obviously, like ideal scenarios, being able to open up stuff like, okay, Small World with the ability to bridge gives your opponent straight away that instant of, do I stop Small World? What's the worst thing they can do? If you Small World bridge and get into Santa Claus, they then need to go, right, okay, well, the next thing that's going to happen is Santa Claus is going to try and break this board apart. Like, Santa Claus will deal with the strongest monster on the board. So let's say we've had our bridge, plus our opening hand of any of our starters, plus a board breaker. So let's say our starters can be, you know, any of this plus Crimson Resonator, right? Or Crimson Guy, sorry. You've also got Resonator, cool. So straight away, excluding Small World, you've got 9 routes to get into a bridge or to get into a starter, right? So that's just one card in like 9 or 12 spaces, right? And then your Small World is technically 5 cards, because your Small World get into a kaiju is great, but then straight away your Small World can get you into a kaiju, or you can hard open one. So even if you were to mash these as one card, okay? So you've got Small World, you've got your bridge that you need, so that's 2 cards in your opening hand. You've got your board breaker, and then you've got your starter, okay? So that's 4 cards of your opening hand, and you've still got 2 more to play with, which can be more ways of baiting out your opponent's board. What I'm trying to say with this is, okay, in this example here, activate Small World, let's say we make our way to a bridge. So let's say we go Raiden and we go into Magnamute. Obviously you wouldn't go Magnamute because you want to use it, but it's just an example. So the only thing that these match is the fact that they are dark, nothing else matches. And then what you can match from your Magnamute to your Santa Claus is the fact they're both level 6s, right? So you burn off your Small World, you use your Raiden, obviously you use a Kaiju already, you're not going to use that, just example, all right? You get to your Santa Claus. So now your hand of 6 is now a hand of 4. So with your hand of 4, you've still got your starter, your board breaker, and an extra board breaker. So you kaiju your opponent's Baron, for example. You activate the Book of Eclipse, everything goes face down, done and dusted. So there you go. Now you've got 2 more cards to play through to complete the OTK, and you go, right, normal summon Soul Resonator, do your thing. And it kind of moves on from there. So the idea is that you're just trying to make as consistent routes as possible, which is why I quite like the Small World option in this, because if you were to flip that on its other side and you had already opened up a Kaiju, but you didn't open up your starter, Small World is your starter. If you didn't open up an extender, that's your extender. So Small World can basically act as any card you need in your entire deck. So moving on to the extra deck, we'll go from low to high. Of course, triple Red Rising, relatively standard on this one. 1 Scarlight, 1 Scarred, double Red Dragon Archfiend, followed up by 1 Abyss, as it is the more defensive one. And like I said, this build is to be played more aggressively with the ability to have defensive options should it be required. And then you've got your Bane, you've got your Tyrant. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Tyrant. I think it's a cool card, but honestly, if you were to say, right, what one would you choose out of this or this, I'd probably go for this. But because I wanted to keep this Red Dragon Archfiend themed, I went with the Tyrant. So the Tyrant must be synchro summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy all other cards on the field. However, for the rest of the turn, other monsters you control cannot attack. Now that's a big sad, because it means, okay, well, I've just limited my ability to OTK, but at the sense of being able to nuke an entire board. So, for example, very rare circumstance, but let's say you went Book of Eclipse, normal summon Denko, lol, make this, nuking a board, funny. During either player's battle phase, when a spell trap card is activated, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card, and if you do that, this card gains 500 attack. So this is a really good card against evenly matched, but then so is Abyss. So it's like, which one would you rather go for? Probably going to go for Abyss. It's a cool little card, but it's not something that I would choose in place of this, in my opinion. Carrying on, of course, we've got the 1 Bestial Dispatter alongside Calamity as your defensive level 12, Nova as your all-out aggressive level 12, and then Red Supernova as your board banishing level 12. So you've got a balance of everything you need. You've got a turn skip, but if your opponent tries to interact with you early, so you can't get the Bane with the Calamity without missing timing, you can go for Red Supernova if you've got the red zone set up for a double board banish. But then, of course, you can also make this going first, board banish, bring it back, go again. So you've got the ability to be as aggressive as you want and as defensive as you want. Like I said, the idea behind this build was to be a little bit different to the previous ones that I've shown you. I feel that you do have your staple ratios. Like when you're playing Souls, Crimsons, Resonator Calls, like you need to be playing them at 3. I can't imagine any build where you'd want to be playing these cards at less than 3. The alternative options obviously were the Small World kind of package with your Santa Claus and Raiden. Then of course you've got your Book of Eclipses, which is entirely up to you. And then of course you've got your Bestials, which again comes down to accessibility. The reason I like the Bestials, like I said, is they're technically hand traps, they're forms of interruption, and they're extenders for the deck. If you don't have access to the bestials, you can play with the bestials that you do have access to, or ultimately you just cut them completely, and straight away that then opens up the ability for like a 7-card engine that can then be Imperms, Ashes, Bells, DD Crows, you name it, and you're just going to be a little bit more defensive rather than being able to extend your board to the max degree. So that is pretty much it for the build. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas on your own build. Like I said, this is not the ideal. This is not like the best OTK Red Dragon Archfiend build ever made, because I don't do that. I just bring you different kind of variations for people that are like, oh, I'm really a big fan of the Tyrant Dragon, or I'm really a big fan of the Red Nova, but I'm not sure how I can utilize it and play it. Well, this is how you can do it. Gives you a couple of different options, shows you a couple of different paths that you can take, and if anything, I think the Small World engine itself can go across all of the different versions of the deck because it's such a good board breaking option. So as I said originally, shout out to Joe on that one, because he was the one that was like, Small World's great to get you to Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is just a great little bridge, and the best thing about Santa Claus is it's the best perfect single card bridge that can bridge bestials with your Resonators and with your Fiends. So it gives you the best of everything you could possibly need for the deck. Anyway, that is it for the video. Like I said, any questions, comments below, more than happy to answer them. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.